Welcome to another episode of I Am Nala podcast. Today, I'm excited to be joined by an incredible guest, a soulful singer songwriter from Botswana, creating music that heals and inspires, and a beautiful human above all. Our Nala today is Mpho Sebina. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me. I am excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, and we are definitely excited to have you and to learn more about you. So, in 3 words, who is Mpho?
I am an African woman artist.
Nailed it there. So, which song or sound would describe who you are or your journey so far?
I would describe my sound as soul. I've been, really trying to fuse my Setswana cultural heritage into the music as well. So I'm trying to coin and go with Setswana soul.
Awesome. So, you have just released 5 tracks in your epic projects,
Yeah.
which you call My Love Letter to Africa.
Yeah.
Um, and you did 5 collabs with 5 women from across the African continent. Tell us about.
Well, the project really was inspired by this beautiful continent. It's so huge and so diverse, and there's so many incredible sounds that come out of, every corner of Africa. And I wanted to do a collaborative project because I believe it's important for us to collaborate as artists, as women, as musicians, and more importantly, as Africans. I think, it just goes for the cause of unity, but also, just I think when we collaborate, we introduce ourselves and we get to be a we get to acknowledge different markets as well. So it was, a sonic collaboration, but also to expose myself and to expose other parts of Africa to my part of Africa.
How did you choose these 5 women? How did you find them?
Some I've met personally, like Karun, I met in Kenya, and I also met Midi Kwakwa in Berlin. So those were no-brainers. A few of them were recommendations. Some of them are friends or people that I'm a fan of their work. But it wasn't an easy journey. It was a lot of trial and error. I approached so many different people. Not all the collaborations went through, and this was the final 5 who committed to, putting through this project, of which I'm very appreciative. Independent artistry is not really an easy road. So I'm very thankful to people like you and the other ladies who jumped on board with this project for bringing it to life.
I mean, it was my honor to be part of this collab, and I think one of the reasons I actually agreed to this, really honored to be part of it, because I think we turn up a lot of times to a music that oppresses us. The lyrics, the dance, the vibe could be angry or misogynist, and especially as women, a lot of the music limit our freedom and objectify us. But there is music out there like yours. When I discovered you, it's uplifting, it's positive, it's healing. It's turning up to the sound of joy, really. And I think, that's why I was like, I'm on board. Could see you're on a mission. How did you find that was your calling, or this is the kind of music you want to share?
Well, for me, I suffer from anxiety or just a lot of negative thoughts. It's something that I've been working on and dealing with since maybe my teens. So it started with, writing for people like myself who want to find a piece of joy in this chaotic world as it can be. So it was motivated by myself. I'm like, okay, I just want 3 or 4 minutes, once in a while to listen to something joyous. And I found that a lot of people connect with that because life can be a trip, it can be crazy. So I really try to write towards creating a little corner of happiness, peace, joy, and healing through my music. And I found that, a lot of people have resonated with that, and there is a need for it.
100%. So, one of my favorite songs is Fire, and also shout out to you for giving us the track to use for the podcast as well. Why Fire? What's your message from it? Maybe you can sing a little bit of it.
For me, fire can be disruptive, but it can also be transformative. It can represent passion. It can represent anger. A whole lot of things which I feel we face as, feelings that we feel as women. So that's the representation of the song. Fire can mean so many things. And I think it's a beautiful element. It was just what I was feeling at the time, and that's what the song is about.
Awesome. You want to sing a little bit of it?
She's fire, fire, fire. She's fire, fire, fire.
Yay! So, I would encourage everybody to really check the new project and the on all Spotify.
Yeah.
All five combined, it really tells a story. I also like the one in French. I enjoy. I want to move to talk a little bit about your experience in the industry. I mean, from a lot of musicians in the industry, we hear a lot that this is tough for women, especially. What has it been for you, and what do you think should change to make it more fair for everybody?
I think I learned a lot through my independence as an artist. I've been on the independent path, since my first project. And I think, although it is a difficult journey, it is refreshing in that I don't rely on people to tell me what to do or tell me what to sing, or a lot of it, professionally is a machine, it is a business, and people want numbers, and this is what sells and this is what doesn't sell. So I've had the privilege of being free in my expression and what I want to say. And I think another thing that empowered me was being able to set up my own studio, right? I think there's a lot of freedom that comes in that, and, not having to rely on people to record. And I was quite tenacious, I think, in my 20s, and I believed that I could do all of this by myself. And, if I receive any weird behaviors, especially from our male counterparts within the music industry, I'm very headstrong in that I don't stand for being treated a certain way or being told what to say. So that's the beauty of independence. But yeah, I'd encourage more female musicians to be more headstrong in their approach and to remove themselves from situations, if they can, that are detrimental to their health or their well-being. I think a lot of the time in this industry, there's a certain gatekeeping that happens, and there's this misconception that there is this only one way to get into the industry, or this is the person. There's a lot of doors, there's a lot of opportunities, and I find that you just have to find a way to navigate that.
So usually, in any industry or field, or an ecosystem, there are regulations, there are policies, that exclude some and allow for others, based on different ways of discrimination. Is there something like that in the music industry? Is there a policy or one thing that you wish could change to make the game fair?
From a Botswana context, I would say we've had the issue that our YouTube is not monetized in this country, I believe, as well as TikTok, which is quite detrimental to empowering artists financially. This is the social media age, and a lot of music is shared via YouTube, via TikToks, and it kind of sucks that we cannot capitalize on that because it is such a huge way to make money. And at the end of the day, we're all looking for a certain level of financial freedom. I do see that the heads of this country are in talks about rectifying that. I'm not too sure what the issue could have been, but we hope that things like that are rectified for the Botswana creative.
It's definitely an issue across the continent. So I want to play a small game with you. It's called Guess the Song. So we'll play like a short introduction and few seconds, and then you guess the song.
Okay, over it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah. Okay. Let's start with this first one. Song and singer?
The song is Pata Pata, and I believe the artist is Miriam Makeba.
Yay! Nailed it. All right.
Hey.
Next one. We got 5, so let's see how many you get. Okay.
That is Agolo by Angelique Kidjo.
Yes. I love Angelique.
I love her too.
All right, next one.
That is Vulindlela by Brenda Fassie.
Oh yes. Am I giving you easy songs, or you're brilliant for sure? I mean,
quite good.
Okay. Okay, next one.
That is definitely Fela Kuti. And the song, the title may be a bit tricky. The title is Water No Get Enemy.
Hands up. Yes, girl. All right. It would be so tricky for me. I love Fela Kuti, but the entrance is always similar. So
Okay.
yeah. Okay, last one. I mean, this is a bit tricky because it's so obvious. The entrance is literally.
The artist is Lucky Dube, the late and great Lucky Dube, and the name of the song perhaps is Remember Me. Remember Me?
Yes.
Yeah. That's one of my best friends' that's one of her favorite songs.
It's a very beautiful song. Yeah. It starts with the name, so I was like, which part of the song I should show? But still, I think there is something about like classical ones that it sticks.
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah, beautiful. I think we've been creating beautiful music throughout the times, and African music really speaks for itself. I'm excited to see where and how it'll grow with these change in policies of how we can capitalize more. Yeah, I see a really bright future for African music.
100%. So tell us a bit about growing up in Botswana, and also like showing or through showing culture of Botswana in like a global stage, because we see a lot of rise of different countries trying to put forward different type of beats, different type of music. How's it for you growing up and then trying to show that cultural part of it?
Growing up in Botswana is quite interesting experience. Not maybe let me say unique experience. We're a very small country. I believe we just hit 2 million, in terms of population. So it's a very small country. We all know each other. We're all related. And growing up, the influence of music was heavily from South Africa. They had a more, and they still have a more booming industry in terms of music and distribution, production. So it was heavily influenced by South African music, which is why I can recognize your Lucky Dubes and Miriam Makeba so easily because that's the sound that we grew up on. So yeah, I was there at the really early grassroots of music, the type of music that I make, quite soulful, a bit more alternative, different from your traditional Setswana music. The reception was quite tough, I'm not going to lie, but I was very headstrong when I started, very rebellious, like I can do all of this. I know we're only 2 million people, but I really believed in the music that I was making and I believed in myself quite a lot. And yeah, it had its ups and downs, but Botswana is catching up. The industry has grown in leaps and bounds from when I started. We have a variety of musicians, all the way from heavy metal to traditional Setswana music. So it is a beautiful scene to see.
So is that would be like what you're knowing for in the family, the rebel, the stubborn, the stubborn?
I really, really wonder. Maybe a little bit stubborn, but also the peacemaker. I am the peacemaker of the family. But a lot of the family members say I do look really sweet, but I do have quite a bite. So yeah, somewhere there.
I can relate. I can relate to that.
Okay.
Um, So I wanted to I was curious actually when I was kind of going through this with our producer, and there was a question about the songwriting process. I mean, the final thing we see is what we listen to, and we relate and resonate with what we experience. But this, the writing process, the story of the person who was writing and singing, it
Mm.
remains quite the mystery, right? So what would be your kind of writing process, and how did different experiences pour into it for it to come to something? And I
Yeah.
know it's a lot to answer, but I hear a lot that artists overthink and they want the piece to be perfect before release. So how do you deal with that?
I've ridden myself of the over perfectionism of things. When I started, I think the producers I was working with at the time, they were a heavy perfectionists, and we would record and re-record and re-record and re-record, which came out with a very beautiful project. But I just like to express myself and not try not to think too hard about it, which is quite difficult as an artist. Yeah, I just, we say down here, South, we say, if I die, I die. Like, I'll just put it out and, whatever happens, happens. The process of writing for me, I'm a very emotional person. I feel quite a lot. And as a writer, I'm not producing it. So I receive a lot of music, a lot of empty pieces, if that makes sense. So I like to sit with that music and see how it makes me feel. And then I write towards that. But also, I'm really trying to perfect my Setswana penmanship. I found that over the years, I've been expressing myself in English quite a lot, but I'm really enjoying getting to really go deep into the language of Setswana. It's such a beautiful language, and see how I can incorporate that into my music.
Actually, also your project has different languages. Is language something that is core to what you want to do more of it?
Yeah, I love to hear other languages and how they are expressed through music as my main modus. And yeah, Botswana has variety of different languages. I've been really focusing on Setswana, which is the main language. But my dad is Kalanga, which is a different tribe, and they have their own language. So with this project was the first time I actually started throwing, different um, languages from the Setswana landscape. So I'm looking forward to exploring those as well.
Mm, beautiful. So,
Yeah.
is there any encounter, or did you receive any, from people who listen to your music that it helped them to overcome some difficulty? It's got them through a hard time. It's really impacted them.
My intention was always, and I think, it is important to be intentional about the things that you do because they do resonate and they do translate within your works. Because when I went into music, a huge part of the intention was healing. I feel as Africans, as women, we've been through so much and we need to do a lot of healing, a lot of unlearning and learning new things. So I get a lot of people that come to the shows that express, how they feel that healing and how my music has helped them through a lot. I've had two ladies come up to me with tattoos of my project names on their forearms, and just expressing how much the music means to them. So yeah, it does give me that confidence and surety that my intention for healing is coming across through the music.
And talking of healing, you mentioned at the start that a lot of it goes through your personal experience. How do you cope? How do you deal with mental health challenges? Have you find your toolbox? Do you want to share a little bit of your tools with us, those of us
And
still struggling?
and things. Definitely, I speak to a professional mind therapist when I can. I love to nature bathe. Just being out in nature, earthing, and being surrounded by nature, I really love. When I can and have the opportunity to do so, I do so. Being kinder to yourself, and this day and age, there's so many pressures to succeed and to be doing this. I should have a huge house. I should have a private jet, and all of these things. So I try by all means to practice positive self-talk, meditate. I love yoga. I love to move my body when I can, when I'm not feeling lazy. I try to dance and enjoy the little things, spending time with my family, just playing with my nephew, just things that bring me joy when I can, as much as I can.
The everyday moments, to
Yeah.
grab those moments every day. Yeah. And how is spirituality also played in this strengthening your mental?
Spirituality for me is quite part of my whole ethos. I believe in a higher power. I do believe in God. I believe, there is a force of love that is looking out for us that I do pray to. I read my Bible when I can. I think it's a beautifully written book, and there's some gems in there that help me get through a lot. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Do you want to play another game?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna ask quick questions. You have to answer with the third, like first thought that comes to your mind. Okay. What's the one song you secretly can't stand but everyone loves?
Umbrella by Rihanna. I
It's brilliant. Okay, if
love
you could, uh,
her, love her, but that song, yeah.
yeah, we all love Rihanna, but yeah, that's very interesting. If you could eat one dish for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Jollof rice.
Nigerian or Ghanaian?
Are you trying to get me in trouble?
I'm
Um,
provoking you.
so I've only ever had Ghanaian jollof in Ghana. So I need to go to Nigeria and have the Nigerian one in Nigeria so I can answer that question. Thank you.
I see the peacemaker. West Africa diplomacy. All right. Worst fashion trend you've ever tried?
Um, the the mohawk when we were all shaving our heads on the side and the hair. Yeah,
No, it didn't resonate.
oh no.
If you weren't a musician, what would you be doing right now?
I would be making clothes, designing clothes, something creative still. Yeah.
I think you could still do that with being a musician.
Thanks. Yes, I am. I'm just overthinking it as I usually would love to do that.
All right, the last question. What's the one person you would fangirl over if you met them?
Beyonce.
Ooh. Is there a song of Beyonce that you really love you could sing for us?
Oh, so many. There's so many. I've been with that woman since Destiny's Child days. Yeah, I'm a huge Beyonce fan. She works like a crazy person, which I admire. Yeah, I'm a huge fan. What song would I sing? What Beyonce song? Wow, my head is going at a million miles per hour.
Do you know any one from Lemonade's album or
Oh yes, I loved the song in there, Love Drought, where she says, You, you, you and me could cause a love drought. Like, what's a love drought? I love it.
it's a great metaphor. So your single Black Butterfly is about freedom and self-discovery. What has been the most significant moment of self-discovery for you?
The most significant moment of self discovery, I think maybe letting go of blaming other people and circumstances for where I am or where I want to go, and taking the onus, if that's the word, upon myself to, you know, heal and move forward and to make things happen on my own accord, despite what my family may have done, or what my father was not there, or my mother said this, and my sister did that. So I think the wisdom and maturity of saying, okay, all of those things happened. How do I move forward?
It's like moving from the victimhood
Yes.
narrative or like cycle,
Like, okay, okay.
yeah, to agency, to I am.
Yes. Yeah.
I love it. I've also learned that, yeah, quite recently, and I wish I had that understanding early on in my life. It would have saved me from, many blaming. It's a really good tip. In terms of like self confidence, did you struggle with that growing up in the industry? How did you overcome that?
Yes, I did. I was more of a wallflower growing up. In high school when I started going into music, people were like, "What? You sing?" Because nobody ever knew. I didn't do it in public. I was very shy, and growing up where I was not, nobody is, making music for a living. That's not what you do full time. You get a real job, and so there are some insecurities that come with that. But I'm learning, also the beauty of getting older is you learn to become more confident in yourself, and how I think I make myself feel good. I think that's the main thing, and that could be from trying to work out as much as I can, eat a fruit or a vegetable, drink some water, get some sunshine, and feel good, so you can stand there proudly.
I love that. I remember I always had an issue of like walking, straight. Like I always have
I've always
dropping shoulders. And when I started like wearing head wraps, because some of them you have to be like this in order to stay
been.
and stick nicely, it just gave me that power of like, how do I walk? And I think everybody can find small ways of who they are and who they become, identity. They embrace to find that confidence.
Yeah.
Talking of Rihanna, she says, "Fake it until it becomes."
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, but yeah, no, I love that because I think we all have those self-doubt
Yeah.
moments. So how we deal with it is what moves us forward. In terms of self-doubt can be more like in your music, in your art, but also like how people perceive you. Like it's different pieces, I guess, for you. But if you're you, you would be your main affirmation to yourself. If like you shut down the noise and it's just you, what's the truth?
What is the affirmation to myself?
Mm-hmm.
You are loved. You are safe. You're loved. You're safe. And you can do anything you put your mind to.
Mm,
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah.
So we usually ask some of our listeners to ask questions. So we have like Ask Nala, and we got two questions for you. One
Okay.
from Bukholo. She says, "What's your advice to women who are constantly told they have to choose between being a boss in their business or industry and being a feminine?"
Sorry, please repeat the question.
What's your advice for women who are constantly told they have to choose between being a boss in their industry or their business and being feminine?
Okay.
It's like you have to
I
man up.
Yeah. I would say there's a lady, her name is Louise Hay, that I listen to quite a lot. She does all this positive self talk and she brought up femininity. So it's something that I really love. And she said, most of the time we think that femininity is, being light and polite and sweet, but that's not necessarily what it looks like. Femininity has a balance of power and assertiveness, so I don't think necessarily being feminine can be removed from being a boss. I can still be a boss in my femininity. So my advice would be find a way to be a balanced feminine human. um Femininity does also have its power and its assertiveness. It may not necessarily look like the masculine, but um, find your power in your femininity and be assertive in your femininity.
Did you encounter that in your relationships or in the family where you feel like pushed to masculinize or man up to get through?
I guess so. I come from a family of very strong women, very strong-willed women, and I think maybe they've shaped and molded the type of woman that I am, where I see, some of my female family members, doing things on their own, managing their households, being the breadwinners, holding high positions. So they have definitely influenced the type of woman and feminine that I am.
And usually people think that most artists make money out of the art, but usually they always have a business going on, right? So you're a businesswoman eventually.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
I think like
So
any
this. Mhm.
entrepreneur, they always say in entrepreneurship how you should diversify your income streams. And I think being a musician is just like being an entrepreneur.
100%. And like did COVID shape like the way you look at your business as an artist?
It did. So COVID for me, when COVID hit, I was busy running around doing all sorts of things and focusing on the business and, making the money. And I had completely forgotten about the time to sit and work on a project. So when COVID hit and there's no more running around for me to do, I was like, oh, I have to make the time for the music. So out of COVID, I put out a whole project, my first album. Yeah.
That's the definition of using a crisis for opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. So it forced me to sit,
Brilliant.
be an artist and create because we need that time as well.
Slowing down. I think all of us slow down during that period. It's incredible. All right. The second question from Misha. She says, as an aspiring musician, how do I stay true to my cultural roots while appealing to a global audience?
Find a way to merge the two, and whatever global sound you're going for, your culture can be incorporated into, and it's something that I've been having a lot of fun with. I love R&B, I love soul, but I always love to see how I can bring my culture into it, whether it be through a musical element, whether it's through the visuals or the language, the clothing. There's so much room and opportunity for you to blend and merge the two. There are no rules when it comes to art, which is the fun part. And go for it. Do some things that haven't been heard before, play with genres, and just, express yourself.
Great tip. So, are you heartbroken or heartbreaker?
I had heartbreaker.
Oh, I knew it, but just to confirm.
I had.
Yeah, I mean, I'm leading on to the question of, your take on marriage as an institution, right? A lot of
Yeah.
the young women we work with and a lot of our listeners as well are, women who are aspiring to financial freedom and independence and so on, but live in societies where marriage is an achievement. And when they see women like you who are successful and they're living their mission and financially free as well, who can make choices and decisions, like how do you take it from your perspective?
From my perspective, I used to think the two are mutually exclusive, if that's the term. And I never used to really believe in the concept or the construct. But I've since changed my mind. I think if we are on a mission to heal as Africans and heal our continent and, progress, I think there is a huge importance, and the family unit is the first structure of the entire community, right? And I think it's important. Relationships are difficult. I've found they're very, very difficult, and I really applaud and, in awe of people who have been in marriage and raising children. I think it is important for us to kind of focus on that. I do feel that we are at a point where there's this battle of the sexes, and I think we need to find a way to find common ground, fall in love with each other, make babies, raise some, loved children, not to say, otherwise about people coming from single parent households, but I think it's important for us to focus on the family values and, really raise kids who have seen their father and their mother together, or whatever family unit may look like. I think it will aid for better society. Yeah, I'm pro marriage. let's get married, guys. Let's fall in love and raise some beautiful children. Yay for love.
So, so I love that. So do you think like, so there are two theories. One, well, you have to give up your career if you want to have children, because if you have two or three, those are like 6 years, and by the time you raise to a certain point. Or do you think we're super women and we can do whatever we want?
I think we're super women. Hey, I look at women who are leading in this industry. Beyonce has 1,000 children. She's still touring. So I think it is possible. I think it's something that is really possible. I don't think we're living in an age where you have to pick one or the other. I see so many career women who get up every day, go to work, they drop off their kids at school, and they make it work.
Do you get that mentorship from like elder women in the industry for other generations?
Definitely, yes, we do have. I do have a community or a sisterhood of women that I can reach out to within the industry who I'm sure I can talk to about those. I have a close friend who's roughly my age. She's married with 2 children, and yeah, she is my soundboard, and I am blessed to have that network of sisterhood.
That's amazing. And now we have Pan-African sisters. If you continue
Yeah.
with these collaborations. All right, Mpho, we're coming to the end of the episode. I wanted to know, like, what's next? What are you cooking? What's the next project?
Next project would be an album. I'm not even going to pressure myself with a date or anything like that because people will be screen munching. You said on Nala that you would release on October or whatever. So yes, I want to, yeah. I'm gonna start creating and work on an album. I'm not even sure what that theme is. Probably myself. And yeah, I'm looking forward to creating, collaborating more.
I'm sure whatever you create is going to be magical and it's going to resonate with people who love your music. I think the 5 tracks are amazing that you just released, I mean, a couple weeks ago. And congrats. And two more albums, two more healing music.
Thank you.
So we usually ask our guests who are Nalas, why are they Nala? So why are you Nala?
I am Nala because I am Nala because I'm blessed. I am loved. I am fire. And I create. I am creative and exercising my God given talent and ability to create.
Do you want to say something in Setswana?
With regards to Nala,
Yeah, I am Nala, and then you can say something in your language.
I am Nala ka gore ke a ratiwa ke lesego mme ebile ga ke bue.
That sounds beautiful.
I'm not. I'm loved. I am blessed, and I have no fear. Pisa,